All right. Hey, Twisters. Hope you're having a good off season. And we're back for our second live stream in forever. And today we're going to be ranking NHL teams by their desperation level to win the 2026 Stanley Cup. It's always a fun topic. It doesn't matter if we're just past the trade deadline or if we're a couple of months away from the regular season. I love talking about this. I love talking about Stanley Cup windows and like free agents that are coming up in the subsequent offseason, coaches if they're on the hot seat, right? So this is always a really fun topic, and it's even more enjoyable when I have you find folks to discuss this with. So we're going to be doing a tier ranking today. It looks kind of like this. We've got every NHL team, and we've got our wonderfully constructed tiers, if I do say so myself. We've got cup or bust. In other words, if this team doesn't win the Stanley Cup or at least get really close to winning it, it's a failure. Big time fail. A, need a deep run. Maybe a team that got into the playoffs this past year, and it's like, hey, we expect more from you now. Win a couple rounds. B, get in, maybe win a round. Let's say a team that has a young core that looks to take a big step ahead. Just be competitive if a team is suffering through, I don't know, terrible injuries or they're just kind of piecing things together. And it's good to be bad if teams are kind of settling for a high likelihood of winning the draft lottery. So anyway, we've got Dean back. Hey, thanks for hanging out with us on the members yesterday. And same thing to Theo over here. Robbie, hey, good to have you here, man. We got Pro Bolt. Sharks are S here for this one. I like it. Spitting the truth. It's great to have you guys here. We're just going to give just a few minutes for people to join. You guys let me know. I know that, of course, a few of you I've already talked to, but let me know what you've been up to over the off season, and let me know what you're looking forward to most in the upcoming year, whether it's your favorite team or otherwise. And of course, one that I'm curious to be following this year is the saga of Connor McDavid, as he will be an unrestricted free agent by the end of next year. So anyway, we've got some homework ahead of us here, but it's going to be a good time. And it's always a good time because I've got Cortana here. Who wants to see Cortana? While we get some other people in here, let's see if we can get Cortana in here. Come on, sweetie. All right, girl, come here. That's a girl. Yeah, good girl. Hey, you want another one? We'll start things off strongly, huh? All right, here, you want another one? Come here. That's a good girl. All right. Hey, how you doing, Hockey from Home? Good to have you here. I think. Sorry if I'm wrong here, but Victoria, am I correct? Anyway, how's everything? How's Cortana? Long time no see. Yeah, it's been quite some time. Now, cuter than Dobby. Oh boy. I mean, it's a challenge to rank the cute dogs of YouTube, as Dobby has to be right up there, which is funny because Cortana, people tell her that she's got Dobby ears. The king of movies. As a Panthers fan, I'm interested in seeing a possible 3-year Stanley Cup streak. Of course, yeah, and we haven't seen that, of course, in 42 years now. And actually, I will give a plug to our friend Jaws and his son Kyle from Flying Fluffy Hockey, because their channel is in need of some support. They are getting a GoFundMe together right now, just because with the way that YouTube works, it's you're at the mercy of the algorithm, and they have so many great fans, people who pay monthly subscriptions to be a part of this. But even so, Jaws and Kyle are having a hard time getting by, so they're going to be basically using this like a membership. I'll talk about this later on today too. But Flying Fluffy Hockey, friends of the channel for a number of years. You can find a link to this page here in the video description below. But we'll talk about that even more when we have other folks here. But yeah, last year of school for you. All right, cool. Then you get to the real fun stuff, I think. You haven't been here in a while. Well, I haven't even been here in quite a while. It's been like, oh God, 2 weeks ago I had my first stream. I put up my first video recently. It had been like there had been like a 3 or maybe even a 5 month gap. Anyway, let's get started, okay? Let's get things rolling, and we got our order here. The first team that we're gonna do is the Tampa Bay Lightning. So if you, I gotta take my there we go. I got to run a poll here for all of you lovely individuals. Yeah, Jaws and Kyle are great. I'm so happy that I got to, meet them about a year and a half ago. And hopefully this upcoming season, I can get back out to the East Coast to see my grandmother because they're not that far away, those two. All right, so the first team here is, wait, can I do 5 options for the poll? No, I can only do, I think, 4 options, right? Start a poll. Yeah, okay. So the first team is the Lightning. So our question here is, as you can tell, what is the level of desperation for the Lightning? What are the expectations here? Are they in cup or bust mode? Is it more like, hey, Lightning, you haven't really won many rounds the past couple of years. If you make a deep run, that's good. You still have players in their prime. What do you guys think the hot seat is here, or the level of heat on the Tampa Bay Lightning going into this upcoming year? You're okay, Cortana. You think they'll make a deep run? I mean, you got to think they still have maybe something in the tank still with Nikita Kucherov, Braden Point, Brandon Hagel, tons of points last year for him. Vasilevsky, I think somebody said he was runner-up for the Vezina. I can't remember, but he had a really good year. What beer is this? This is local to me in Coeur d'Alene in Idaho here. It is it's called Rye or Die. It's a rye IPA, and this is like a mini growler here. But Mrs. Twister wasn't going to drink it, so she doesn't like the super bitter beers. King of Movies says they'll face off with the Panthers in the first round again. Well, yeah, that's what happens when you finish like second and third, right? You just want to get into the playoffs when you're a team with that experience. And so then you could end up having your hardest challenge in the first round. Justin, hey, good to have you here, man. I'd say they need a deep run, especially after 3 straight first round exits. Gee. Okay, so they haven't even won a round since the last time they were in the Stanley Cup. Yeah, I got this from this brewery that we have in town called Trails End. It's my favorite spot. I call it home base. Zach, what's going on? That's funny. That's where I met my first friend in town, and his name is Zach. They need to go back to the 1-8 format. I completely agree. And I know that we do actually get the top seed in the conference always plays the last seed in the conference, right? Because it's wild card 2. But the 2-3 in each division, yeah, I'm getting tired of the repetition from that. All right, guys, how many votes do we have here? We have, let's take a look here. We have 13 votes. Okay, let's close this out in 10 seconds, okay? So cast your vote if you haven't gotten in your vote just yet. All right. All right, we'll end the poll here. We have 32 teams to get through, right? So it's going to be a while. But you'd say A tier, and you know what? I think that's pretty fair. A couple of those guys are in their 30s, but even so, they do have some good talent that is not has quite the mileage on them. So I would agree with you guys. All right, next team we've got here is the St. Louis Blues, the somewhat surprising St. Louis Blues, a team that I didn't think would be making the playoffs last year, but then they made the coaching change. They brought in Jim Montgomery, and they got into the playoffs. And boy, oh boy, did they give the Jets a run for their money. So, what do you think the level of kind of desperation here is for the Blues? They've got who's that young guy that should be playing for them probably at the start of next year? Is that Snuggerud? Is he the guy? I'm not as tuned into prospects as I should be, but yeah, Dean, that was a great series. That was probably the most probably the pleasant surprise of the first round. Even though, of course, I always like when the lower seed wins when I don't have a horse in the race. I mean, to see the Jets win it at home like that, the way they did, I thought that was pretty cool. So, Big Hog would say B. I kind of would agree with you if I were to really pick something. It's like The Blues, in terms of reloading, they've done some of that. And I thought that what was really good for them was when they brought in Broberg and especially Holloway. That's turned out great. But yeah, it's like, I don't think that with the group that they have right now, there's so much urgency with like the salary cap situation. I know that they talk about trading Kyrou, especially it's not like you have a bunch of players who are, deep into their 30s and have nothing more to give, right? Thought I was a Sharks fan. Oh, well, I mean, when you're going on 6 straight losing seasons, you have to find a way to be a fan of just about every team. The Blues seem to have rhythm every year since their introduction to the NHL. The Blues haven't had very many like dry spells in terms of like getting into the playoffs and for the most part being a competitive team. I agree. All right. We'll close the votes in 12 seconds, but it looks like we're going to be in B tier for this. Excuse me. All right. Blues are going in the B. All right. Our next team is the team of one of our viewers here and one of our members, and that is Theo Big Hog Hockey. The Vancouver Canucks. And of course, I want you to preach. All right. What do you make of the Canucks? It kind of reminds me of the situation that they were in, let's say about 3 or maybe 4 years ago, how they had this kind of surprising run in the bubble in 2020. And, Demko bursts onto the scene. Quinn Hughes is this young wizard puck distributor. And then you look at 2 years ago and with JT Miller and they are a game 7 away from going to the conference final. And then unfortunately, everything just kind of falls apart. Demko's injury certainly being a factor there. Dakota Joshua being out for a while. Pressure is A, expectation is not. Okay, so you're saying like they have the pressure is there, but it's not like they're expected to do as well as we think they should be doing. The Canucks must win to keep Quinn Hughes. When is his contract up? I know he's not a free agent next year, right? Brendan, what's going on, man? Thanks for hopping in, by the way. Isn't Dakota Joshua on the Leafs? Yeah, he is. When I look at what he did 2 years ago, really like him. I think that I wish him the best over there. He was probably my favorite Canuck to watch over the past couple seasons. Quinn's a free agent in 27. Okay. Canucks fans feel the way about Kaprizov. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that you could even apply this to a couple other teams with how big the free agency class is, but with how instrumental Quinn Hughes is, would I say he's as important of a piece to his team as Kirill Kaprizov? I think that you can have a conversation around that, but Kirill's probably one of the more valuable players to his team right now. Cortana, you're okay, honey. All right. Quinn ain't leaving. Well, we need some feel good storylines in the NHL. At least right now, I wouldn't want him to leave. Interesting. So we've got some C, D, and we've got some A. All right. I'll close this in 20 seconds. So I do see that we are at around 20 viewers. So if you haven't voted yet, take a shot. Take a shot. JT Miller to Vancouver confirmed. It's going to be kind of odd seeing him back on the Rangers. Re-signing Besser was big. Yeah, if this is more of a retool for them, which I'm sure Theo, you would say, like with Vancouver, it's always some sort of a retool. It's never a complete teardown. Then yeah, that would be pretty big. He still has plenty of very good years ahead of him. Wouldn't be so sure. Jimmy said Quinn wanted to play with his brothers, and if they don't get their ish together, Quinn is a goner. All right, let's close the poll here. Okay, this is pretty close because we're seeing basically a split between either A tier is at 42%, C and D is at 28%. B tier is at 21. Do I just automatically put this in the A tier? Because we had 47% for below the A tier. So I'll say it goes at the very end of A tier. All right. That takes us to the Bruins. Tom, what's going on? Put the Oilers in the red tier. The Oilers should have their own tier. I'll probably make one later on. Thanks for jumping in, Tom. Tom G. Tom Grossi? Oh, awesome. I feel really important now. Okay, let's add the Bruins in here. B, C, or D. Okay. The Boston Bruins, man, what a fall from grace they've had. Of course, Marchand is off in greener pastures. You still got McAvoy, you still have Pasta. You have this breakthrough season for Morgan Geekie, of all players. But Jeremy Swayman was not particularly good, and the Elias Lindholm signing early on is underwhelming, I'll say. So, do you think Boston is in a situation where, okay, maybe they're just competitive this year, and then next year they finish in a playoff spot? Or is this more like they're just going to be heading all the way down into what will be a rebuild? Rangers fell way below expectations last year, probably more than any other team except for the Preds. At face value here, I would agree. Yeah, I thought the Rangers would still be, making somewhat of a run in the playoffs. All right, we got 11 votes. We'll keep things moving. So 20 seconds from now, we'll close this guy. Play with his brothers for international play. Yeah, I'm really excited, of course, for the Winter Olympics. It's been forever. I can't even. When was the last time the NHL players were actually in the Olympics? Was that 2014? I think it was, right? I mean, hell, Patrick Marleau was on Canada's team then. All right, we're going to close things out in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Okay, pretty convincing, either C tier or D tier. To start out, I'm going to put the Bruins in C tier, but we'll keep an eye on the situation, and because we only have 4 options, right? So we'll look at potentially moving Boston to the bottom later on, but that's reserved for only a few teams out there, right, guys? And is one of them, I don't know, I'm just saying, is one of them the Seattle Kraken? Ethan, welcome to All-Star. All right, good to have you back, man. Here, let's give Cortana a treat on your behalf. We have to take a quick treat pause here for Ethan supporting the channel, a longtime viewer of the channel. I'd say good to be bad. All right, we'll get to that in just a moment here. Let's see here. Hey, treat. Atta girl, good girl. And Ethan, thanks for your support, man. I actually just had my first member stream in like a year, honestly. And hopefully, I think live streams and member streams, I think we'll go with a cadence of like every other week. And could we do more later on? Potentially. I just want to make sure that my plate isn't too full now that I actually have a job. I mean, that's one thing that's changed since the last time I have been talking to you guys. But thank you so much, man. I appreciate that. And here we go. We're going to go to the Seattle Kraken, the team I'm wearing here. Kraken. S, A, B, C, or D. All right. So the Kraken, what have they done in this offseason? Well, the Kraken I think they've kind of gotten more Kraken-y. Oh, and Ethan gifting a membership too. All right. I'm going to give Cortana a treat here. Seattle, I'm trying to think of what they've done because the specific moves are a little hard to track just off the top of my head, but it's kind of a lot of the same, right? They don't go out and sign any big names. Not that there were all that many in free agency. Their goaltending, Joey Decord is still very much in his prime. Come here. I know that they've lost what? No, Will Borgen's been off their roster for a little while, I think. Hot take, Kraken will finish last in the Pacific. And I've heard some people talk about that, especially a lot of people here knowing I'm a Sharks fan. They will tell me, hey, the Sharks won't even finish last in their division. And to that I say, I'd be surprised. I know Seattle's pretty mid, a team that has a lot of kind of like second and third liners and some guys who are starting to get to the last couple of good years of their career, like the Jaden Schwartz is out there and the Jordan Epperleys. But, let's not completely dismiss Seattle because Shane Wright was among their leading scorers last year, his first full year. Berkeley Catton, Spokane Chiefs represent. He should be making the opening day roster. I don't know if he'll be on the top line necessarily, but I'm very keen to watch him. And they have, I know, Riker Evans, and there are some other good players who could be called up for Coachella from Coachella Valley, because that's a really good program already. Nice to see a Seattle. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, Seattle sports, apart from that Seahawks run, it's been tough. I'm praying for the day the Supersonics come back. That was my team growing up. All right, we're going to go 15 more seconds if you haven't voted already. You guys are being fantastic so far. Let's keep things rolling. No path forward for Seattle. They're going to sell for McKenna. And yeah, the thing, though, with Seattle that puts them at an advantage versus a team like the Sharks is that they actually have NHL caliber players that they can trade. Whereas I don't think the Sharks have that necessarily to where they can actually get good value and also lose a lot more games because they sold those pieces. Rough seeing the Thunder win. I was never, I never disliked the Thunder, though. Not to mention Jalen Williams is one of the few Santa Clara alum who've cracked the NBA. So that's pretty cool. And Brandon Pajemski, for that matter, too. Hey, Ethan. Wait, we've got a couple of Ethans. It's great to see the Ethans here. Thanks for joining, man. See the Blue Jays hat. They're just crushing it. I saw that they put up, what was that, 45 runs in a 3-game series against the Red Sox. All right, let's close this out, okay? And then we'll move on to my team. This was totally randomized, by the way. All right, so Seattle, more votes in the C and D tier, but was it more than the Bruins? Not quite. So I'm actually going to put Seattle in the C, and Boston's going in the D. Always can change these up, but I think that based on our impressions here, that's where we're going to draw the line. The next team, my team, Team Teal. The Sharks in the offseason here, what's the big thing for them? They draft Misa, although it's looking like Misa's going to play in college. You also have Jeff Skinner being signed. I guess that was their biggest signing. And some other really small moves. But really for the Sharks, if you want to see them make improvements, it's all about how much progress can you make with youngsters like Eklund, Celebrini, Will Smith. Yaroslav Askarov is coming back from injury as well. I think that should be something interesting to follow this upcoming season. Sam Dickinson, we'll see if he cracks the lineup. Luca Cagnoni is a guy that we're not talking about a whole lot, but he was known as a potential draft steal from a couple years back. He did play with the Sharks for a couple of games, but we'll see if he can earn some more ice time out there this year too. McKenna celebrate. My hot take, Brendan, is that if the Sharks get first overall, they will trade the pick, and they'll draft second overall. Because they'll try to draft second overall because they want to get Keaton Vanderhoff or Verhoff. I think that's the guy they want. Revo too, yeah. Chomas, is that really Thomas? Well, hey, thanks for jumping in here. It's good to have you guys here for this off-season stream and the second one in a long time. Defense is going to be absolutely crap. Defense, excuse me. When we talk about hockey, it's defense. When we talk about other sports, it's defense. It's kind of weird. But yeah, where do we have Team Teal? Okay, no surprise. We got 19 votes. We can already close this one. And that puts them ahead of Boston. I'm going to put them at the end of the tier. And we'll move on to the next team. From the 32nd overall team last year to the first overall team last year, the Winnipeg Jets, who, they got through the St. Louis Blues, albeit it was tight. But then they fell to the Dallas Stars in the second round. So Winnipeg, of course, the big thing for them is losing Nikolai Ehlers. Their roster, as far as I know, has mostly stayed the same, right, guys? They would get so much back for that pick, but I just don't think you pass on a player like that, even for team fit. I think trading some forward prospects would be good. I'm sure that I'm a little bit more in the minority here. I did see McKenna play actually in the championship for the WHL, but it's just that the Sharks have for a couple of years here really had that need at the right defense. But if Greer says otherwise, get the best player available, that's not going to upset me at all. Winnipeg is still a cup contender. Lebowski, with that beautiful picture of Big Sir, good to have you back. Winnipeg is weird as tier regular season, but like B tier playoff. Yeah, with the Jets, I just kind of keep waiting for them to fall off. I know it sounds awful, but defensively, they've only gotten better just over the last couple of years with, Sandberg. Yeah, Dylan Sandberg's now like one of the best stay-at-home defensemen. I need to lock on him. The Jets fans have probably said this for years. DeMello has been a good Jet for them. Of course, you still have Morrissey. And that's a team that I haven't been fair enough to Winnipeg over the years. But then again, 2 postseasons ago, I said they'd win it all. And yeah, but this time around, I wouldn't say it was, that the brunt of the blame should be shouldered on Connor Hellebuyck. I wouldn't think so for their exit this year. Jets had some questionable signings this offseason. Yeah, if you guys recall who they got, feel free to shout it out here. I doubt the Sharks are going to be that bad this year. I still expect the Kraken to be worse, and the Flames, unless Wolf repeats his rookie magic. Yeah, I find Calgary very intriguing. I thought Calgary last year was going to be in the mix for the worst record, actually. I thought it was going to be between them and the Sharks and the Blackhawks. The Jets finished first, best record. Their AHL team was the second worst. Interesting. I guess that means that, they don't have the deepest prospect pool. And sometimes it means that, their prospects are off in college or other leagues or whatever. Then again, the AHL isn't really a place for guys that you've just drafted, obviously. But I don't think that you don't want to see the Sharks be a bottom feeder again. I'd say I can give it one more year of that, because I don't think that some of the Cortana, you're okay. You can't have a belly rub right now. Sorry. I'd say that, like Quentin Musty, Sam Dickinson, Luca Cagnoni, Simon or Haoshi Wang, that they drafted in the second round, Igor Chernyshov. I think these players, while they're probably not going to make the roster, maybe one does. I do think that, and then they could get some playing time this next year. I think you'll see all of them. I would hope all of them or most of them on the roster 1 year from now. And then that's when I just cannot wait to watch this team. Year 3 of Celebrini, right? Get him extended next offseason. It could be so much fun following them a year from now. Worst year from Wolf. I'm rooting for the guy, though. He's kind of from my hometown, or not my hometown, but my home area. Jonathan Taves. That's right. Tanner Pearson, Goose Nyquist. Yeah, okay. That, if you want to say questionable, I think that's more than fair. All right, I'm going to close this out. They have 56%. That's going to put them in A tier. I'm going to put them. Do I put them ahead of Tampa or behind Tampa? I'm going to say probably behind Tampa Bay. Tampa's lost in the first round for the last 3 years, so I'll put Tampa still ahead. And our next team, this is another team that to some might have had a questionable offseason, and they've been out of the first round every year, the past 4 years, at the hands of the Oilers, and that's the LA Kings. And in the offseason, they had one of the more interesting signings with Corey Perry, also Cody Ceci, and Brian Dumoulin join. And I know that they lost, of course, Vladislav Gavrikov in free agency farewell as he went to the Rangers. You want to see Edmonton become better? Well, the question is, what what can Edmonton do to become better? Not what do they need to do to become better, but what can they do, right? Calgary could have had a super team, but traded away their best player. Yeah, of course, that was quite a fall for them, a steep fall. Although they're not your favorite team, I look forward to seeing how Winnipeg does every year in the playoffs because of their potential every regular season. I mean, like, you want to see if they're going to finally get over the hump. I'd like to see, you know, a God mode Connor Hellebuck. And it'll be tricky. I mean, I don't think that they're going to be a bad offensive team at all. It's just that it might take them a little while to figure things out without Ehlers. I still think they'll be pretty good offensively. Sinister Pete, hey man, with the Randy Johnson, I love it. Diamondbacks 2001, damn, one of the best postseason pitching performances of all time. Livermore native Randy Johnson, and one of the great names of sports. Any picks for a dark horse to crash the party? Yeah, my dark horse this year. I know Utah's a sexy pick. I know they are. I this could really backfire, but I kind of like Ottawa. I really like Jake Sanderson. And I think contractually they have the way that their roster is constructed, the contracts are structured pretty good. I think Ottawa could be this. If I'm going to have a sneaky team that nobody's talking about, I'm going to pick the Senators. Could Montreal be better than them? Sure. Hey, Trevor, welcome back, man. Edmonton needs to tend the goal. Yeah, exactly. It was a crappy free agency class, though, unfortunately. Since LA has Corey Perry, they're going to confirm to make the Cup final. As long as they don't play Edmonton in the first round. All right, let's take a look at our poll here. So we're at 50. Okay, I'm going to give you 15 seconds. Cast a vote if you haven't already. We're leaning toward A tier, but it could go B tier. So figure it out, guys. We can do it. Dark Horse is the Wild. Actually, that's an interesting pick, too. I think they could beat either Colorado, Winnipeg, St. Louis, Utah, or any Pacific team besides Edmonton. Yeah, Minnesota. It's kind of like there's this barrier that is somewhat predicated upon, I don't want to say their youth, but I don't always see that team with everybody together. It's kind of like they do need to form the Megazord all together. It's not like you can't just rely on Carell to be, you know, dragging you in the playoffs specifically. I'll say that. In the regular season, sure. All right. We'll close the poll. This one was tough. A slight nod to the A tier over the Canucks. And speaking of interesting teams, the beard be growing. Yeah, check this out, man. I don't grow a whole lot of facial hair. Like, you don't even see anything on my lip. It's blonde. Doesn't even connect. But yeah, we're going with it. The lady does not. She hasn't gotten sick of it just yet. All right. So next team is the Blue Jackets. How about that? They were so close to making the playoffs this past year. Cortana, you're fine. They've got youth. Zach Werenski had a terrific season for them. He was a Norris Trophy finalist. I think he was like 6th or 7th for the Hart. Merge Leakins has been at least serviceable past couple years. Zach, you got into the membership. All right, man. Cool. Welcome. Daniel Bryan beard. What does that look like? I don't know. He's what, a wrestler? But yeah, like this, for me to like grow this, I'm impressed that I've been able to do it. Playoff Matthias Ekholm. You know, it's funny. Actually, I can't remember off at the top of my head. It might have been one of you. Somebody actually gave me a Matthias Ekholm signed jersey. It's a Predators one. It's not like a real one. It was like one that was. It's got a certificate of authenticity, sure, but it's like I don't want to say it's a fake jersey because it's not like from China, but not from like a sweatshop over there. But yeah, I actually have Matthias Ekholm's autographed on a jersey. A jersey. Yeah. Anyway, we're talking about the Jackets. They got a Charlie Coyle. That's the big one that jumps out at me in the offseason. New York Islanders as a dark horse. I mean, if my thought always is like, man, Sorokin was hot for a moment there. Things have not been all that great for him the past couple seasons, past 2 years. All right. What is our poll at, by the way? 12 votes. All right. I'll give you guys a little more time here. We'll give you 20 seconds to vote for Columbus if you haven't already. God, I can't even keep track of all the youngsters on their team. There's like Marchenko. There's, of course, Fantilli. There's, they used to have Jiricek, right? Who's the other guy they have on defense who's really young? There's Voronkov. I know about him. He's a forward, though. I know I'm missing one or two like pretty highly rated young talents. But yeah, Columbus. I did not expect that from them this past season. I'm glad that they had the season they did, but hopefully they can build on it, right? All right, so we're going to close it out in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. 62% B tier, 38% C or D tier. I still think we should put them in B, though. We'll just put them, I'll put them before or behind St. Louis for this one. And speaking of teams that barely missed the playoffs, the next team is the Calgary Flames. And boy, did anybody see that? I did not. Yeah, Dustin Wolf had a big role to play in that. Oops. But I got to credit Ryan Huska. I know that there's a lot of trade talk, though, around Rasmus Anderson. Is that going to keep the Flames? Is that going to take some wins off the board for them next year? It could. But they had guys contributing there that I was not expecting. Hell, I remember Yegor Sharangovich was like their leading scorer 2 years ago. Actually, was he the leading scorer this past year, or was it Kadri? Kadri still produces. So last year, Calgary, fourth worst offense in the NHL, but goals against average, they were right in the middle. Yeah, Kadri was their leading point producer. Huberdeau, actually, I don't want to say he had a good year, but he had a better year, I thought. Yeah, Sharangovich actually fell off a bunch. I mean, hey, the guy got paid. I gotta credit him there. Huberdeau's is the worst ever. I mean, I still have a Rick DiPietro to sell you. I actually have an on ice DiPietro jersey that somebody gave me here. But yeah, Kadri he still has something to give. I mean, that's something that's, the Flames. I know the thing is that he has term, though, so the Flames might have to eat some of that, right? Some of that cap. Dustin Wolf kept them in a lot of games, stole a few. Yeah, they're kind of the team that I'm rooting for this year that I don't follow that much, because for them to do that well this last year, it's kind of like, whoa, who are these guys, right? It's Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. So I want to learn a little bit more about them. And besides, if I ever have the means, I can drive over the border and be there in as few as like 7 hours to see them. So there we go. The Flames are in no man's land. Yeah. What do you do? Do you continue to embrace the rebuild? Do you have enough in the prospect pool? So now when Boston trades Coyle, he ends up in Columbus, not even in Colorado. Watch like Columbus beats out Boston for the last playoff spot this year or something. Plans for jerseys I'm getting next season at Colonizer Chan. I can't say that I'm going to be doing very much with that right now, just for financial reasons. But I know that I still have some Adidas jerseys. Well, I sold like 30 of them at least. But I have some that I want to acquire that are on sportsk.com. And I know that one of them is a Sharks third, the Califin jersey. There's that. There's a Whalers jersey on there that's still only $100, I think. The Ducks 25th anniversary. The Cannon jerseys on there. There's only like 2 left in the size that I could fit in, but yeah. All right, what's it looking like? Ooh, this is going to be a tough one. We've got. I like this. Keep the votes coming. We'll give this about 15 more seconds. You were going to get a Brad Marchand jersey, but that happened. Well, yeah, now you can get a Brad Marchand jersey. It's going to be a lot cheaper, right? All right, let's give this a close in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. All right. So we have treated players goaded for padding the collection. Exactly, right? I can't, or I could have gotten this probably for like 3 times cheaper than I bought it for. But this is a Philip Grubauer. But I got this like right when he signed with them. Speaking of worst contracts, that one has been horrible. And I loved Grubauer with the Capitals and especially with the Avalanche. All right, so where are we gonna put where to put you? I guess it's B tier because S and A got 28%, C and D got 35%. So I will say Calgary expectations are, hey, if you're competitive enough, don't sell at the deadline. All right, we'll get to our next team here. Be fine with getting a jersey. Yeah, I mean, like Marchand, you get a jersey of his, no one's going to give you a weird look. All right, next team. Ooh, how about this one? Washington. And I don't think that many people had the Capitals making the playoffs last year. And all of a sudden, here comes Alexi Protas. Here comes Tom Wilson with a career year. Here comes Alex Ovechkin scoring at the best clip he's scored at in several years. Here's Jacob Chikrin, and Logan Thompson playing really good in net. And then they looked very pedestrian, I thought, in the playoffs, especially against the Hurricanes. That was not a good matchup. Surely it's Ovi's last year. I personally think it's going to be his last year. But I talked to a couple of our members last night who don't necessarily expect that. Thompson has matured very well. It wasn't near what getting a Tavares Islanders. Yeah, exactly. Dude, you want to talk about cheap jerseys? Tavares jerseys were probably some of the cheapest I ever saw for somebody who was an all-star at one point in their career. Actually, well, he was in Toronto too, but yeah. You would like to see him play another season and hopefully get to 1,000 goals. I don't know though. Even that would be really hard, right? Because he's at 904. It's possible, but damn, dude. Especially since he got injured last year. Being left off the Olympic team for Canada. Yeah, because Canada doesn't have the best goaltending. So just on the surface, I would think that Thompson should probably be one of the 3. Binnington should be on there as well. I mean, that's the other, he played at the 4 Nations. He's proven that he should be at least one of those 3 goalies. Washington, keep it rolling. I'm not sure who their cornerstone players are after Ovi. Yeah, is it really Alexi Protas and who's the other guy I'm thinking about? Protas and there was another guy who just totally erupted last year. They also have Ivan Miroshnichenko. I'm wondering if he's gonna be a full timer. Ryan Leonard, kind of the same thing as well, who was pretty highly touted upon being drafted at least. Martin Brodeur 2.0 Binnington. Former St. Louis Blue, Martin Brodeur. Sakuna, nice to have you back here. The main rival isn't Florida. They only had 1 to 2 bad run-ins with them. Toronto, you're saying? I think Florida is more of the recent rival, but yeah, if you want to talk about the last, 12 years, obviously, Boston overwhelmingly. Darcy Kemper. Darcy Kemper was the Vezina finalist last year for the Kings. Okay, sorry. Where's the poll at right now? Let's take a look here. 59% for A tier. I'm going to give you 10 seconds to vote if you haven't already. More complimentary core players. I mean, Spencer Carberry's done a good job, but I think there's a need for some more speed on that team, of course. All right, let's close it out in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. All right, Washington goes comfortably in the A tier. I'll put them next to Winnipeg, between them and Vancouver, strangely enough. So sad at the Blues first round. That was sad, man. I mean, you guys gave the President's Trophy winner a hell of a run when you weren't even expected to go to the playoffs, at least from what I remember. And hoping Monty can keep things rolling over there. All right. Here's a team that they should be able to roll over a couple times this year, and that is the Chicago Blackhawks. I was talking to the biggest Blackhawks fan I've ever known last night, Nick from Windy City Hockey, and he's under the impression that this is more than likely the team that will finish with the 32nd best record in the NHL. Why are the Canucks in A? I know. It was interesting because we had some in A and we had some in C and D, but not as much in B. Actually, we had some in B as well. But I looked at the percentages and I'm like, I guess it makes sense to put them in A. Derek, hey, how you doing, man? Hope you're getting through the offseason smoothly, of course. The Chicago Bedards. I don't know. Nick was telling me he expects Bedard to be as high as, not necessarily, but as high as a 100-point player this upcoming year. My question is, do they have the talent at wing to support that? I don't think so necessarily, but do I expect Bedard to be up in the 32 goal range? I would expect that, actually. Is he going to have more like 37, 38? He's capable of it. I don't expect that. Canucks should be an S. He ain't as big of a fan as you. Oh, that's your team? Is there an F tier for Chicago? Yeah, the Nick Foligno tier. How could it not be? Blackhawks will not be in the bottom 3. Interesting. So who would you put down there? Right now, I mean, I hear pretty... I'm not saying consensus, but the most common trio of teams in the bottom 3 that I hear are the Blackhawks. I still hear the Sharks, although a lot of our viewers are saying no. And I hear the Penguins. And I'm kind of in that camp myself. I don't expect Seattle to fall quite that low. I don't expect like the Islanders or the Bruins, or unless it's Buffalo, because Buffalo is Buffalo. I could see maybe Buffalo replacing one of those 3 teams. Dan, what's going on? Hopefully it's not the Red Wings. Hopefully, god darn, they need to secure a date with the postseason for a change, huh? All right, let's close this out because we already know where we're at, and the Blackhawks now take over as the. It's good to be bad. I might have to move the Bruins back up to where the Kraken are. What we're going to do is we're going to quickly go through the stars, and then I'm just going to do a plug for my friends because they need some support right now, and then we'll carry on, okay? All right. Let's go with the Dallas Stars. Dallas, what is that? 3 straight trips to the conference final, and that gets Peter DeBoer fired. I get it. The guy is not necessarily a player's coach when it matters most. But damn, dude, I mean, this team has done very well. It's just they kind of buckle there when they get a little deeper into the offs. What does their team look like? It still looks pretty much the same, right? For the most part. They didn't do that much in the way of changes. I don't recall. Daddy's watching. Yeah, just like good old times, right? And I will kindly drink to that. Dallas has had plenty of deep runs. It's cup or bust. Yeah, I'm not saying that cup or bust means they're going to tear down. It just means it's kind of like a failure. It's like, damn, what's it going to take for this team, right? The Blackhawks trade their own 2026 first for McTavish. Oh, wow. Interesting. I mean, I like McTavish. Do I want the Sharks to trade for him? No, but would a team like Chicago be smart to trade for him? I think that they have plenty to offer. Sure. I think they have plenty to offer without mortgaging a potentially better future. There's something in McTavish that I think needs to go to a team that's ready to start winning. Dallas is the epitome of cup or bust. I can see that. Opinion on DeBoer pulling Otter in Game 6. I can't remember the circumstances of that, but I'd say probably yes. It was definitely the way he did it, right? I just remember fans were saying like, yo, he's being hung out to dry out there. But the thing is that to me, Jake Ottinger, he's not an elite goalie. He's not a top 5 goalie. In my mind, he was kind of competing for that a couple of years ago, but he's not a top 5 goalie. Is he a top 10 goalie? I think he's he's very comfortably in that conversation, but even so. Sharks versus Blackhawks, who had the bigger fall off. Tough, man. I think some people will say the Sharks just because they never actually won a Stanley Cup. So it's kind of like the writing was on. You could argue the writing was on the wall sooner for the Sharks. They should have just embraced that. Seriously, wow. Yeah, I know, right? Like, would I rather have Logan Thompson than Jake Ottinger? The answer is yes. I would. Dallas has made the playoffs every year this past decade, except for one. In the last 3 years, they went to the conference final. They probably will win a cup or make the final before this decade ends. I mean, that's the prime years of Robertson and prime years of course, Heiskanen still and Thomas Harley. Who's the other really young forward? It's not Stankoven. I know that. What did the Sharks fall from? Fair. Sellout crowds every night. I'm missing that so much. All right, let's close it out with Dallas in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Clearly our number one cup or bust team so far. All right, fellas, I'm just going to do a quick plug here. You guys, a lot of you know, are friends over at Flying Fluffy Hockey, Jaws and Kyle. They're fantastic content creators. They're even better people. I got to actually hang with them a year and a half ago. But they do need a little bit of help keeping their channel afloat. It's not because people aren't donating. They're doing that. Those people are doing an incredible job with that. And there's a recent video where Jaws actually goes over that. But the thing is that they're not really getting that the benefit of the doubt from the YouTube algorithm. And so they're really having a hard time putting out videos and streams and being able to continue that with just the lack of exposure. So if you could, they're raising funds through GoFundMe, but this is really just like a channel membership. So they have YouTube channel memberships, but the problem is that YouTube takes a cut of that. Like when you guys donate to me, YouTube takes 30% of that. So this is a better way to do it because GoFundMe, I think in Jaws's video, I put a link to that in the description below. YouTube only takes 3% of that. So anyway, these guys are fantastic. You can donate as little as you want, but even so, I mean, look at this. How are we doing with this so far? They've raised almost $6,000. Actually, one donation was like $5,000. But this will help them just be able to plan for what they can do with this channel, make more trips down to Florida potentially. Anyway, I'll let Jaws do the rest of the talking. His son Kyle is great too. He does so much work for the channel as well, so we can't forget about him. And with that being said, we'll get back to our stream. But yeah, see a donation link and a link to a video explaining that more from Jaws in the video description down below. Okay, so let's carry on here. Egginator, Kraken fan, good to have you here, man. We're going to jump into our next team, and I think this team, I really want to say that they're gonna actually break their 7-year drought and get into the playoffs, but I don't know if I'm quite there yet. Lukáš Dostal is not one of those reasons why, but I got the Anaheim Ducks. And in the offseason, the big thing was getting Chris Kreider and hiring Joel Quenneville as their coach. Dostal was a great goaltender this past year. They have Zellweger and Mentukov on their blue line. They still have, we'll have to see what they do with McTavish, but you got Lucas Carlson. They dealt away Zegras too, let's not forget. But I think that they're doing what they need to, I think, build the right kind of table setter, the group of table setters for their franchise. And they have other talents that I haven't even seen out there on the ice yet. So what do you think of Anaheim? They got a bunch of Rangers. Yeah, they got Jacob Trouba. Lindgren, though. Where's Lindgren now? Seattle? Is he still there? I can't remember. I can see the Ducks being a wild card. Pro Bowl. Here we go. I see Anaheim being a potential wild card. So wait, I'm sorry, Pro Bowl. Is that your team or is that your Western team? I can't remember because I think that you suggested me making a Mount Rushmore for them. Hi Cortana. Hi girl. Cutter Gauthier. Yeah. Cutter Gauthier. Who was, I think, 5th in Calder Trophy voting this past year. Kind of a low-key good first full season for him. Devils fan. Okay. Devils fan. I will. How can I PB? I'm just trying to PB. I'm trying to like find a way to remember that by just Anyway, don't worry about it. We'll get to it. Devils fan. And Brendan plays. Yeah. It's put up or shut up for the Ducks. I mean, with Joel Quenneville, I'm sure that some people are expecting that means playoffs no matter what in the first year. Whatever happened to Lundestrom anyway? I really liked how he started his career at least, but I guess he's more of a I don't know, kind of not grinder, but face-off specialist. Devils will be A tier. I think so too. That's probably where I'd have my vote. All right. Where are your votes with the Anaheim Ducks? Okay, we're going to close this out in 10 seconds. So vote if you've yet to do so. But, we're between B or between C and D. I would have to see more between C and D to for sure stick them in the C tier. This was, I think this was pretty similar to what we did with one of the other teams here too. But I'll say we're going to close this out now. All right, so by the skin of their teeth, the Ducks get into the B tier. And as you can see here, these are kind of some fringe playoff teams from this past year, right? Gamer God, right on. Thank you for gracing us with your presence. And now we'll get into the Islanders who, boy, oh boy, had the first overall pick this past year. Lou Lamoriello is out. Oh, here, I gotta actually make the poll here. My controller disconnected for a moment there. Islanders. All right. Yeah, what did the Islanders do this past offseason besides Lamoriello exiting, drafting Schaefer? Did they extend Romanov? Is that like one thing they did? Should be in tank mode hard. No more Brock Nelson. Of course, he was dealt at the trade deadline to the Avs. Sorokin and Varlamov are still your tandem in net. Islanders are like the Mets. Everyone cares about the Yankees and Rangers more. Well, the question is, are the Rangers going to be that much more relevant than the Islanders this next year? There's no reason to try to be in the middle of the league. Well, hopefully, whoever's GM now can. What is it? Is it literally who I think it is? But I don't want to be incorrect. So, who's their new GM? Be it most, the fans are desperate. Yes. Yeah, that team, that's for a hot minute there, the Isles were like, if they didn't run into the Lightning, they could have gone to the Stanley Cup a couple times. A little pressure on Patrick Waugh. Yeah, that was kind of one guy I was thinking who could be one of the first coaches on his way out, whether that's during the season or at the end of the season. The GM of the Islanders was the assistant GM for Tampa. Okay, cool. King of Movies says Islanders will probably play against the Rangers in the playoffs again. Well, the thing is that one of those two teams has in the Metro, right? It's not exactly the strongest division. So, like, could you write a hot goaltender? Probably, right? All right, where are we going to put the Isles? We're going to close our poll in 10 seconds, so vote if you've yet to do so. Actually, you know what? I say otherwise. We're going to put the Islanders in C tier. The Kraken are very lonely. So, Henri. I'll put the Islanders now. Well, these two teams are like mirror each other, right? Forwards are mostly second liners at best. Although I'll take the Islanders goaltending. All right. And I'll actually take the Maple Leafs goaltending over the goaltending for both of them because Anthony Stolarz was a great pickup a year ago. So we'll go with the Maple Leafs. No more Mitch Marner. But they did, of course, hold on just a second here. Leafs. I mean, the writing was on the wall, obviously, with Mitch Marner. Will be in year 2 of Craig Berube's tenure there. Cortana, you're fine, girl. Yeah. I mean, shoot, every year for the past 6-7 years is cover buster Toronto. But if you have an argument otherwise, hey, let me know. Islanders about 6 to 8 years away from being a serious contender. Yeah, I mean, like, it's kind of like embrace the rebuild right now. Because, like, how many guys do you have under the age of 27 who are bona fide studs? You already traded away Dobson, right? It was 3-0 Toronto in Game 3. 58 years and counting. Wait a second. Is that what it is? 58 years? Yeah. Yeah, you're right. The Leafs were the only team that took Florida to Game 7. Hey, valid point. Valid point. Put that up for a moment here. It's the Maple Leafs. Game 7. Always bet on the opponent. Well, you know, it's funny. I had a hot take. My hot take one of my hot takes for this year is that Mitch Marner is going to score a goal in a Game 7 for the Golden Knights this upcoming year. This upcoming year specifically. Jeez, this thing's bitter. Not bad though. All right, where's the poll at, my friends? We've got 12 votes. We got about double the amount of people here, though. So I want your opinions. Let's see them in our poll here. We'll give you about 20 seconds to vote if you've yet to do so. Okay. And the Stanley Cup against the Leafs. Yo, that's crazy. That would be the hottest of hot takes. All right. We're going to close this out in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. All right. No surprise, although some people had them in the A tier, we're going to put the Leafs up here with Dallas. Dallas, though, still takes the cake right now. All right. Now, from one team with unrealistic championship aspirations to another team with unrealistic championship aspirations, we go to the Minnesota Wild because they are not the Tampa Bay Wild. They're not the Los Angeles Wild or the Vegas Wild. They're the Minnesota Wild, and they play in the state of Minnesota. And we know what it's like being a fan of a Minnesota sports team, don't we? Being a Minnesota Vikings fan. For the Wild, they got to worry about Kirill Kaprizov. I mean, we've heard that the extension that he's looking for could be $15+ million. You've got, of course, some great years ahead still for Matt Boldy. And you have Brock Faber, not even in the prime of his career. Jesper Wallstedt should be part of the goaltending tandem this upcoming year. Not to mention Philip Gustafsson he's mostly been a very solid goaltender for them too. But you have a couple of grizzled vets on that team, like Jared Spurgeon, like Mats Zuccarello. And if you're unable to get it done this year with them, I mean, is it kind of like the last good year that those guys can give you? If healthy, the Wild can be scary. And they did have some problems with the injury bug this past year, and not the only year, but definitely last year. John Hines, I would argue he only has kind of a short shelf life with the teams he's coached so far. But maybe we'll see. Maybe he's got the talent that he needs now. Something tells me that there's somebody who's going to break into the team and make an impact this year from their prospect pool that I haven't known much about. And don't forget about Marco Rossi. He is still unsigned for them. Kirill Kaprizov could be the MVP if it wasn't made of glass. Yeah, it was interesting. So one of our viewers, I had posted like, hey, who has the most to prove this upcoming year? And I said, I gave a few pictures of players, visual engagement, right? And one of them was Kaprizov. And somebody said, hey, Kaprizov doesn't have anything more to prove. And I thought, well, first of all, he's kind of struggling to stay healthy. His talent's there, absolutely. But even though it shouldn't fall on his shoulders, he should be the one who's, making opponents scared to face the Wild in the playoffs. And I just don't see that, albeit it's been kind of a small sample size for Wild playoff games. But I just haven't quite seen it just yet. Not to mention this is somebody who's looking to be paid more than just about anybody else in the NHL. So that's why I said I think he has a lot to prove. He's not the only one on the team with a lot to prove, but I think it starts with him. Bedard Kaprizov will be magic. God, that would be insane. Okay, what do we have here? Some votes for A. Plenty of votes for B. I'll give you guys 15 seconds to vote if you've yet to do so. How many more teams do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Wow, we're only halfway through. Okay. So we're going to go through these a little bit more quickly. If you don't mind, we've been live for what? For an hour. That's fine. Because once we hit about 2 hours, I got to boil some pasta and make myself a bolognese sauce for dinner. Hey, psst, psst. Hey, come on. Last night I went to a German restaurant and had some schnitzel. I'm a huge fan of schnitzel. But I can't eat out every night. So we'll definitely be cooking. And I'm cooking up a new video, by the way. I've got some NHL, EA NHL rankings, cover rankings. I'll show you what I mean here. Give you a second here. Actually, I should close out the poll right now too. But hey, who likes a little dynamic flavor to their content? So we've got the next video that you can watch on the channel. It will be out most likely on Friday, I'm thinking. Wait, tomorrow is Friday. Derp. It'll be most likely out tomorrow, if not Saturday, and I'm ranking shell covers. So stick around for that. We'll have some fun with that one. And I have a couple other ideas I'm cooking up too. Okay, what's the poll at here? We've got B tier for the Minnesota Wild. I think that's more than fair. Like, just for the love of God, win a goddamn playoff round in Minnesota. All right. Now we're going to move on to our next team, which is the two-time defending Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers. Cortana, hi, honey. Cortana, you're such a good girl. All right, Panthers. And not to mention they've reached the final the past 3 years. Not to mention a Florida-based team has reached the final each of the last 6 years. How about those apples? So Florida, as we're talking about in the postseason run, hey, this team has Sam Bennett as an unrestricted free agent. The guys, they're Conn Smythe winner. They've got Brad Marchand, right? 36-year-old who looked like he was 24 out there. What are they going to do without these guys? They're going to get paid. And Florida said, hold my beer. And they signed them to very team-friendly deals. I know there's one other player that I'm forgetting here. I think it was Ekblad, too. Ekblad got himself a good contract, but I still think it was fairly team-friendly for where he is in his career. So, yeah. The question, though, is it cup or bust for the Panthers? I know that we have a couple votes there in the B tier right now, and please keep the votes coming in. I would say that with the Panthers, it's not cup or bust. They still have good years ahead for players like Carter Verhaeghe, like Sasha Barkov, like Gustav Forsling. Now, so I would say that while they're expected to contend for the Stanley Cup, I don't think that it's like in the fan base and the media, it's like, okay, if they don't win the Stanley Cup, everybody panics, sell the team, all that, right? I think that for me, I would put Florida in the A tier myself personally. Okay, I thought I just got beer on my jersey. Probably just landed in my beard. Okay, yeah, there is some in the beard. You want someone new to win? I do too. I love what the Panthers have done, and of course, I was behind them ascending the ranks and winning that Stanley Cup, in 2024. And I would like to see somebody new win, but they've been a fun team to follow. Does the Panthers repeat fix Florida's attendance issues forever going forward? I think who knows, man. It looks like those attendance issues are long gone. They had great attendance this past year. I thought they were toward the top in average capacity. Yeah, that's right. Kachuk's going to be out for a while. Really, with the Panthers, I think it's just get in, right? It really is unrealistic to expect a cup. They've played a ton of hockey for a team for the past 3 years. I think that there's certainly an argument to be made there. Who said C or D tier? All right. What's the poll at? We got 11 votes. All right. We got a few more of you here. So please do cast a vote. Let's give it 20 more seconds. Oh God. About halfway through this? Thirsty Thursday, right? All right. 10 seconds. Make it count. It's 50% S tier right now, though. Those fans will disappear when they drop off. Well, I don't think that they're showing any signs of dropping off soon. Although the one thing that's probably their weakness going forward, I would say, is probably a backup goalie, considering Bobrovsky's now 37 years old. So they'll eventually need to fill, have somebody competent like they had with Stolars, right? Or even Spencer Knight, and then they traded him to the Blackhawks. Good for Spencer Knight, by the way. I am happy for him. All right, Florida's going in the S tier. We'll put them just behind Toronto here, though. And we'll go to the next club, a team that won the President's Trophy and then lost to the Florida Panthers in the conference final 2 seasons ago now, and that's the New York Rangers. Definitely some changes there. Out is Chris Kreider. In comes Mike Sullivan as the head coach. What do you guys expect for the New York Rangers? And shout out to Rangers Central here on YouTube. If you guys don't know Evan, he's grown his channel a fair amount over the past, I'd say, 18 months. But yeah, Rangers Central is a friend of the channel, longtime friend of the channel. collaborated a couple times together as well. So yeah, subscribe to Evan if you haven't already. Here, I'll put a link. You guys already got the plug for Jaws. So sub to Rangers Central. I'd say that that Evan is probably one of the coolest Rangers fans I've ever met. And he's been making content on YouTube, God, at least 5, if not 6 years. All right. What are the thoughts here? Weakness is age with Panarin, upcoming free agent. Zibanejad, I think he's also a free agent next year, right? You still got Fox on the backside of things. They got Scott Morrow from the Hurricanes, and he'll have more upside than what we saw from the playoffs. Honestly, did not look good at all. Looked very out of place. Tranquillo. I think that while Ranger Central is probably right, with Borgen and Susie potentially as a defensive pair, I don't think that could be as bad if they don't have to play 21 minutes a night. You got, of course, Igor is still in goal. So that's something that shouldn't be problematic. And you got David Quinn apparently running the defense. Rangers are in the no man's land. It kind of is that way, although I still think they could squeak into the playoffs in that division. Canucks maybe cup or bust with all their trades. That right. I like your, that's a sharp looking profile picture. You don't want to have to deal with an area. No, we got the chill Rangers fans here, though. All of the Twisters who support the Rangers. I haven't had like a huge Rangers following just yet, but they've been cool. A little, maybe some of the other fans on Twitter or on X a little bit overly vocal, let's say. But I do need some East Coast sports fans in my life. It is kind of fun here. Growing up on the West Coast and rooting for the teams there, you don't have the same kind of banter you do with those on the East Coast. So I like when we get. Like we got like a bunch of Devils fans a couple years ago, and we have a couple of Islanders fans who have joined us here, and Philly fans. Oh man, I always love shooting it with them. They're always a lot of fun to talk to. But yeah, no point to squeaking in. Yeah, I mean, but what's the vision for Chris Drury? Do we even know do we have any idea what that could look like? Right. All right, let's close it out in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Okay, interesting. Ooh, what was that? 23% S tier, 30%, so 53% S or A, and then 45% either B, C, or D. I got to take a law of averages here. I think that is pretty fair. I'm just going to put them in no man's land. They're going to be right here in the B tier. Like, hey, could you get into the playoffs? That'd be great. Matter of fact, I'm going to kick them over one toward where the Ducks are. How about that? How about a team that we're actually kind of putting some expectations on to get into the playoffs this year, and that is the Utah Mammoth in their first season as the Mammoth, with 35 goal scorer Dylan Guenther and Clayton Keller leading the charge. What do you guys think? I mean, the Central Division is no walk in the park by any means, but the trajectory, right? The Mammoth for most of last year were pretty damn competitive. Now, what did they do in the offseason? I wouldn't be able to tell you off the top of my head, unfortunately. If you could see any original 6 team going to the finals soon, it'd be the Rangers. Oh, I would say Montreal would probably be my first pick. Oh, that's right. They got Paterka. Thank you, Unite. Unless that'd be crazy. Are you based in the UK? Then it's like Unite, but it's like UK night. I don't know. You would much rather be the Ducks than the Rangers. Hey, fair. Should have been the Yetis. Shaking my head. I was on board with just about any of those, or the Outlaws. But Mammoth, I don't know, man. Mammoth is a pretty cool mascot too. Who knows? Maybe we'll have Mammoth walking the earth again at some point. I am one state away from Utah, albeit it's like an 11-hour drive from where I am because I'm in the Panhandle. So anyway, but once the Mammoth... Okay, somebody asked me earlier, what are the jerseys I want to collect this upcoming year? Even though I really don't have the means to collect jerseys so much these days. Okay, I got to find a way to get a Mammoth jersey. I like those a lot. Of course, just the black one. The white one's not even a Mammoth jersey, is it? No, you are a Vegas fan. Okay, yeah, I figured. Actually passed by Vegas recently. I flew connecting flight. Anyway, how's our poll looking? I know that some people have to bounce. That's totally fine. But 91% say B tier for the Mammoth. Okay, cool. And let's see here. What is that poll at? How many votes do we have? 11 votes. All right, we're going to close this out in... Actually, let's close it out now. This is overwhelmingly convincing. We're going to put the Mammoth at the front of the B tier. How about that? Now, will they have the stones to win a playoff round? Well, that's yet to be seen. You know something else that's yet to be seen? If the Buffalo Sabres will ever make the goddamn playoffs ever again. Who lost Jay Paterka. So, Sabres. Hey, they kept Bowen Byram. That's the highlight of their offseason. Who else? They obviously got somebody back from the Mammoth as well. But yeah, Buffalo, what's it going to take? They still got Lindy Ruff as their head coach. They still have Kevin Adams as their general manager. No changes made there. Who will save Tage Thompson? Long gone now is Dylan Cousins. Some of my favorite movies of all time. You know, it was fun. I was watching The Entertainment Guy, so Shannon, talk about his favorite comedies of all time, or like rank the all-time comedies. Brother, Superbad. If you were born in the time that I was, Superbad's hilarious for the most part. So that's one of my favorite comedies. But anyway, of course, big-time Lord of the Rings fan. I've actually been to Hobbiton and a couple of the locales from the films. And big original Star Wars fan. In addition to The Sandlot being kind of my all-time favorite film. Love The Sandlot. Love 80s and early 90s buddy comedies like Wayne's World and Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. Tommy Boy, I need to watch it again. I've only seen it one time. It's funny. Don't get me wrong, it's funny. Where's Dan? Dan's going to be like funniest movie of all time. And for sports movies, Rudy, love Miracle. What's another one that I wanted to highlight? Well, it's a documentary, but Hoop Dreams was so ahead of its time. That movie's amazing. It's a documentary from like 25 years ago. No, 30 years ago. Holy crap, I'm getting old. Tage, that is all with the Buffalo Sabres. And of course, Darlene. Tropic Thunder or The Big Lebowski. You know, I'm not as into Tropic Thunder. I tried watching it again recently. It's not that it's not funny. It's just that I'm a little bit antsy around comedy that doesn't have like distinct punchlines. I don't know. Speaking of which, Monty Python and the Holy Grail is another one of my favorite comedies. Big Lebowski, I've only seen it once. I'd like to watch it again. Do I like Clerks? Yeah, I really do like Clerks. That's, I think, just kind of like, it's a good comedy that's not just about laughs. Like there's some value to it, I think. It's a good movie. I've never even seen Caddyshack. We actually have a bar here in town called Caddyshack. All right, where are we at with the Buffalo Sabres? Hey, no surprise. The Buffalo Sabres are going into the C or D tier. They're kind of where we had Boston. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to move Boston and Buffalo into the C tier toward the end. A team that I do not expect to be in the C tier, and Fight Club. Fight Club's great. A long time ago that I saw that movie. I was saying a team that I don't expect to be in the C tier are the Carolina Hurricanes, who got Keandre Miller and Nikolai Ehlers, and that's good for them considering, a year ago they had lost some big pieces like Brett Pesce and Brady Shea. You got a full season up ahead for Logan Stankoven and Alexander Nikishin. Nikishin is supposed to be in the mix for the Calder Trophy, just looking at projections. Now, are the Hurricanes still a 2C away from being a true Stanley Cup contender? Hey, that could very well be the case. This is a team that I follow pretty closely, but I think the Hurricanes have done a nice job recouping their losses from a year ago. My one thing is that despite needing a second-line center, I do agree. I don't think that there's enough conversation around them really needing a true number one goaltender. I don't think Anderson should be the number one going forward. He's a good regular season goalie. He's good as part of a tandem, but I think that they need to at least audition Kochetkov, and he's kind of had that chance. But really, if I'm the Hurricanes, if they can't make a move for a good second line center, then I would push for a starting goaltender going forward. Carolina needs to fix their goaltending, yeah. If they want to entertain the idea of going to the Cup final, right? Yeah. But they don't have the centerpiece cornerstone at the top. And some people would say that Aho shouldn't even be their 1C, and I kind of understand what they mean. I think he's more than capable of playing that role, don't get me wrong. But if they had somebody at 2C, even if it was an Elias Lindholm or a Nazem Kadri, that would make a difference for them because it's a big void. As a Canes fan, I don't know where to put them. I just want them to get past the ECF. That's why I think it's kind of like they're kind of in this nebulous spot where you'd have them between the A tier and the S tier. So if we have them at the front of the A tier or at the end of the S tier, I think that would be that'd be the place to put them. But is this a Rod Brind'Amour thing? I honestly don't think at this point. I kind of don't think it's a Brind'Amour thing. I think it's more like that Tulsky, although he had a good first year, he needs to take a big swing. I know he did with Rantanen. I'm sorry if I totally overlooked that. But he needs to do that for a position of greater need than a winger. He already got Ehlers, so he's good there. He's good. All right, so what's the poll at right now? Oh, nice. See, 13 votes. Well, all right, 15 seconds to cast a vote if you haven't done so already. You guys are making fantastic comments, by the way. Really engaging. So this is great. We'll hopefully keep this rolling. We'll do another stream probably in a couple weeks. But anyway, we'll get through all the teams here too. All right, we're going to close this out in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Actually, Carolina now would be up there with Dallas. Who needs a cup more, Carolina or Dallas? I would say, oh boy, that's tough to say, actually. And appropriately, these are the two teams that were just short of going to the Stanley Cup final this past year. Okay, now our next team is going to be the Ottawa Senators, who I had a horrible year of season predictions, but I did have the Senators going to the playoffs. So I got something right. Every year, my predictions get worse and worse, I tell you. But Ottawa, from my understanding, had a pretty low-key offseason, right? Like no big losses and no big additions, right? I'm wishing all the best to Fabian Zetterlund over there. When I think about the impact he made on the Sharks, once he actually had the opportunity to play there for a full year, I'm hoping he can continue that with Ottawa. I remember the Titans, very good. Hoosiers, I'm not as big on Hoosiers. I don't think it's a bad movie. It's just I don't know. It just didn't win me over as strongly as it could. Rocky, I think if you know what to expect with Rocky going into it, you're gonna love it. Miracle, great. Bull Durham, that's another one. I don't know. I guess what I would have to say, you don't have to answer this, is maybe I should have been born a little bit earlier to really get those movies better than I did that were in the 80s. Coach Carter. I've actually never seen Coach Carter. Aho would be the 2C on Florida. Yeah, he would. Hurricanes are in the same category as Dallas and the Blues, where they only have one cup, but they keep playing hard and making the playoffs every year. I mean, Hurricanes had a bad 10-year stretch there, but yeah, the Hurricanes have been winning more playoff series than any other team the past several years, unless they're named like Tampa and Florida. Or Vegas, excuse me. Major League. You know what's funny? I was a kid. I saw the second one because it was PG, and my dad just didn't even think about looking at the box from Blockbuster or Warehouse Video. He comes home and he's like, "Hey kids, I brought home Major League One for us to watch," and we're like, "Oh great, this is so cool!" And we put it on, and we're like, my dad just walks up and pulls it out of the VCR. He's like, "All right, well, hey, we can go get another movie tomorrow. We'll take this one back," because they were throwing around a bunch of F-bombs. Okay. Senators, are they going to be able to take another step forward this upcoming year? I'll give you 10 seconds to vote if you have yet to do so. Movie's not for kids, no. Happy Gilmore. You know, I'm not like huge into Happy Gilmore. I like it considerably. Like, I enjoy it quite a bit, but I wouldn't say that it's like an all-time great comedy for me. Regarding Sandler's movies, I love The Wedding Singer. That's up there for me. And like Happy's not that far behind, I would say. What's another one that I love of his? Like Billy Madison's silly. I've always really liked The Waterboy, even though it's like, is it as good as those? Maybe not, but it's just always been one that I've been able to quote. It's just, I like the character of it. All right, we'll close out the poll here. And we're going to put the Senators in B tier. You know, stay the course. They might have been ahead of schedule last year. It was Travis Green's first year. And yeah, like I said, Ottawa to me, I don't think they're being talked about enough necessarily. But then again, I could also see them falling out of a playoff spot this next year. Draft day is good. Oh, I haven't heard anything about that one, honestly. Let's see here. Detroit is next. That is a team that has a lengthy playoff drought. Now that they have John Gibson, and Gibson was, I think, healthy this past year, are they going to be a playoff caliber team? And Patrick Kane is still there. Another full season of Edmondson. That could be good for them. Marco Casper had a really good first full year. Sean, welcome back. Favorite Scorsese film? Honestly, I have not watched enough of those. Did he do Shutter Island? If so, I'll just pick that by default. I've only seen that one time, but damn, was that good. I mean, I honestly, you would be surprised by how many Scorsese films I have not seen. Adonis, the A Train, what's going on? Hope you're getting through the off season and that the withdrawals are not too intense, because man, it's been bad for me. What, Cortana? Oh my gosh, Cortana needs a treat. We might need to take a quick break away from the screen here so Cortana can get a treat. I hope you'll understand. Detroit might be the most unpredictable team. Here, come here, girl. How about a treat? Here, we're gonna do this. Here. Oh my goodness, look at this cute pupper. Oh my goodness, good girl. Yeah, can I have a kiss? That's girl, that's not a kiss. That's weak. Smash the like, by the way, if you haven't already. Not for me, but for that really cute dog you just saw there. Or for that very pathetically whining cat on the other side of the house that I just heard. All right. By the way, where is the poll at for Detroit? There's a vote for S tier already. Let's see here. Wolf of Wall Street Casino, Taxi Driver, Goodfellas, and The Departed. Yeah. Pro Bowl. I mean, shoot, you might as well unsubscribe now. I've never seen a single one of those, honestly. I've seen, all I know is, what, Shutter Island and Gangs of New York? Are those the only ones I've seen? I think so. Not to spite him or DiCaprio or, Daniel Day-Lewis. I've never even seen There Will Be Blood. It's so weird that I've avoided his films. I don't know. My thing is I've been watching a lot more 80s films right now. Like a few weeks ago, the lady and I watched what's called Demolition Man with Stallone. Dude, that movie's awesome. And I showed her earlier this year. Showed her Big Trouble in Little China. That's one of my favorite 80s films of all time. That movie's amazing. That Big Trouble in Little China is S tier. Goodfellas is the GOAT. I've seen on the subject of mob movies though, I've seen the first two Godfathers. And I've seen like Scarface. No, I haven't seen it all the way through. Okay, let's close out Detroit here. I don't want to keep you guys waiting too long here. B tier for Detroit. They're going to be right up here with the Mammoth. So these guys are expected to get the hell in and do some damage for a little while at least. Another team that's expected to do some huge damage is the Vegas Golden Knights. Now that they have Mitch Marner, yes, Alex Pietrangelo is going to be out for the whole year. Is it cup or bust for Vegas, who got a very surprising performance this year from the likes of Pavel Dorofeyev? Big Trouble in Little China. Yeah, that's what I love to hear. A-Train. Gangs of New York is good. Yeah, I like that one quite a bit. Red Wings make another playoff soon, even with Tigers and the Lions. I mean, it's not Detroit sports unless like the Pistons are doing something, and especially the Red Wings are doing something, right? This offseason, it was Marner or bust. Now that they have him, it's cup or bust. I think it'll be a challenge. Their D has a bit of a drop-off, losing Pietrangelo and Nick Hague. Do you guys think that Sergachev is a true number one defenseman? I mean, I think that he's more than capable of being a top pairing defenseman. But in terms of like Alex Pietrangelo in his prime with the Blues, like at that level, I would say not quite. But I haven't been watching him since he got over to Utah, so I can't say with all that much confidence. It would be nice that the Knights could get Rasmus Anderson to play with Noah Hannafin, for sure. Get that guy from the right side. All right. What I saw from Tampa, a lot of giveaways early on, but I think he cut down on that for a decent bit. And just trying to think of his physicality. He put up the points. He has the distribution skills. But yeah, I think that with somebody who's, a fairly steady Eddie in his own end, Sergachev can make for a good top pairing. There's only so much that I watch of this sport, though, clearly. Okay, where do we have the Golden Knights in our poll here? 50%. How many teams? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so we're 75% through. And now we have an appearance from another critter. Come here, sweetie. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I got myself a Florida Panther right here. Hi. All right, we're going to close this out in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. So with 58%, the Golden Knights will also go up in the S tier. I'm going to put them right about here. That should be about right. And then that brings us to the Flyers. And that's a team that's been out of the playoffs for what now? Like 5 years, I think. So the Philadelphia Flyers will be our next club. And then once I get the poll up here, I will I'll bring Inari onto the screen here. Oops. Nick, you didn't capitalize the S. What's the matter with you? All right. And thank you for being patient with me while I do this one-handed. You like 80s films, Ruthless People and Down and Out of Beverly Hills? I'm not familiar with those, actually. Pietrangelo has been horrible defensively the last few years. Man, Pietrangelo was like my favorite defenseman in the NHL when he was on St. Louis. And I mean, he was good for the Golden Knights as a signing, I think. Still very much a net positive for them. All right. Let's say hello, Inari. You want to say hello? You want to say hi? You gonna wave? Yep, this is Inari. She's 3 years old. She was a feral cat, and she's kind of mean to the other two cats, but she's real sweet to me. Okay, I'll stop the torment. Yeah, she's such a fluffer. Forsling being a true number one, I would say he's based on his defense, and I mean he does get some assists here and there too. But yeah, I'd say that on Florida he's I think the clear number one for his two-way play. You know who's been really good for Florida, by the way, is Nico Mikkola. What a great pickup he's been. His contract's a steal. The origin of Inari's name is a book called The Dresden Files. That's Mrs. Twister's cat, but we live together now, so it's our cat. I just call her Mrs. Kitty. How's Cortana? Cortana's doing good. She's getting a little bit older. She's 11 and a half, but she still has her moments where she can bound around and play. And, the injury to her it did have kind of a long-term effect, but she's kicking though. She's doing just fine. She's happy. And she's going to get a treat right now. Treat. Yeah, it's a good girl. Hey, can I say? No? All right, good girl. All right, let's get back to the poll. Thanks for your patience there. I like talking about my pets here. Okay, we're going to close it out in... Okay, well, I can just close it out now. Flyers are very much in the D tier. Actually, they're going to be... I think they get right here, where the Hawks are. All right, we got... What is that, 6 more teams? Let's get it done. We've got the Edmonton Oilers are next. That's an interesting team. I think the Oilers need their own tier. Here. How about this? I got this. For the Oilers, are they an S tier or should we put them above the S tier? Because Connor McDavid will be a free agent at the end of next year. And when I say put them above S, that means make a new tier. And, they did lose a couple of veterans like Kane, Skinner, Perry. In terms of upgrades, they've got what? Isaac Howard? Isn't that somebody who has joined their organization now? Goaltending has stayed the same so far. Vegas signing Pietrangelo is crucial, for sure. Just not the same player both ways. And I think that's very fair to say. And I think that Pietrangelo should be a Hall of Famer, unquestionably. First ballot, maybe yes, maybe no. He was the captain in 2019. And by the way, one of my favorite moments was when he got the cup because he handed it to Jay Bouwmeester next. Yeah, he's a Hall of Famer. Pietrangelo just won't come back. He's done. He's what? 35 now, 36. So it gets way more difficult to do that. Need a starting level goalie for the Oilers. Or just a 1A, 1B type. Not all the goaltending fault, but they need to improve. Yeah, I hate to say it, but like in Game 6. Now, Game 7 last year, Skinner, I remember him playing well. But here in Game 7, they did not get goaltending. What are the chances McDavid leaves? I think there's somebody out there who in a tax-free state or a lower income tax state that will pay more than Edmonton offers. I'm leaning more toward McDavid actually signing somewhere else, but I think that's a little bit of wishful thinking. Not because I hate the Oilers, but because I just love the idea of like seeing a superstar go somewhere else. But I actually think there's a decent chance he goes somewhere else with the way that, Sunbelt states and tax-free states are faring these days. About the same as Eichel leaving Vegas, which I would think is pretty low. Just given that, he's playing in an income tax-free state. Contract-wise, I would think that Vegas has, I don't know, what do you think he's going to command? $14 million? If Kaprizov's looking for 15, I can't see Eichel going lower than 14 personally. Not to mention he's healthy now. All right, where is the poll at, by the way? We're going to say Oilers. Okay, we'll close out the Oilers. And, okay, nothing overwhelming, but the Oilers are clearly, I think, at the front of the S tier. I think it's fair to say that. Now you have every team that finished just below Florida. And here's a team that, believe it or not, the Avalanche, since that powerhouse team broke the Lightning's Stanley Cup streak, the Avs have won one playoff series. And now they don't have Mikko Rantanen. Are they finished? Well, since they, since last year, gone is Rantanen. In comes Mackenzie Blackwood, and boy, he looked great for them. Martin Necas has another year over there as well. They also have Brock Nelson. No more Charlie Coyle from last year's team. Cale Makar, I think, is very, very much due for... I'm thinking he's going to get to 100 points. Makar, and now, yeah, you got Landeskog back now. I hope that we've seen Landeskog, taking the ice in the playoffs last year. Now it's more like, all right, he's ready to do it. He's got a full offseason to help him too. So, boy, you've got McKinnon, who's basically a perennial Hart Trophy finalist, if not winning it. I think that Makar is going to go off completely, though, this next year. I think it's going to be his best year in terms of point production. Mike Bartner, I don't watch his videos so much, but I am subscribed. I do follow his Instagram stuff all the time, though. Yeah, Mike's pretty fun to watch, or to follow at least. Edmonton, could they go after Carter Hart? Well, they need to shake up something in net. Pickard's return to the NHL was a valiant return, but they need more than that. All right, let's get some more votes on the Avs. Then we have our final four after that. The Avs are on the hot take list to drop out of the playoffs. I mean, the Central is a bit of a gauntlet. You would have to have Utah step up. St. Louis, if they stay the course. Minnesota, if they stay the course. Nashville, if they look like the team they were supposed to going into this last year. Could that happen? I've seen stranger things, but I'm not personally expecting it just yet. But I think this is kind of like their last real go at being a contender, if there's still one. All right, let's close out this poll in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Okay. So the Avs will loft up into the A tier. I'm going to put them just past the Capitals right about. Well, actually, we had some S tier votes. I'll put them right about here, though. Capitals maybe a little bit more urgency with Ovechkin's final year. They might be able to since DeBoer is gone. Oh, so Dallas can't beat Colorado in the playoffs again. All right. Here is a team that barely missed beating Colorado in the playoffs in 2001. I'm looking for segues here. The Devils, and a team that was just decimated by injuries, not just this past year, but they just can't seem to stay healthy that much as a unit. Recently, I thought it was NHL Network that put out their top 10 wingers in the NHL. Where the hell was Jesper Bratt on that list? That guy's carried this Devils team for much of the last 5 years. And even though I've never been locked on to watching him so much, but the numbers don't lie. It's year in, year out. Jesper Bratt still needs more credit than he gets. Colorado is getting closer to the second round since their 2022 Cup win, except that their biggest competition has been Dallas. They keep meeting the first round. Wait, how many times have they played Dallas in the last 5 years? Like 3 times? But yeah, Dallas has had their number, yeah. I mean, shoot, they were one period away, right? So close and yet so far, but they were just one period away. And it was a special case. It was Mikko Rantanen, right? I can't imagine the Devils missing the playoffs, though. Got it. Thank you, ProBolt. And yeah, where are we ranking the Devils here? Did you say A tier earlier? All right, we're going to close this out in 10 seconds, everybody. All depends on Jack Hughes. Needs to stay healthy. You said A tier. All right, let's close her out. Some votes for further down as well, but the expectation here is that Jersey should be able to perhaps be a Stanley Cup dark horse even. So we'll put them in the A tier, albeit we'll put them kind of over, And we have 3 more teams left. So final stretch. We can do it. Can the Pittsburgh Penguins do it? And by it, well, I'm probably referring to finish with a bottom 3 record. Penguins have missed the playoffs the past couple of years. Sports Geeks probably likes the sound of hearing that, by the way. And being a Flyers fan. B or C or D. Why are the Leafs in Cup or bust? I mean, how are they not? Same damn thing over and over. It's a Groundhog Day over and over again. But now that Marner's gone, the playoff GOAT, right? And by GOAT, I'm talking about the traditional GOAT, the Chicago Cubs GOAT. It's like, hey, maybe the curse can be lifted. Now, personally, am I saying that that's going to happen? No. It starts with, I don't know if it's fair to say the blame starts with Marner. That's a little heavy-handed, but when we talk about accountability, he's got to be the first person that we mention. It's not like they're having goaltending meltdowns all the time. Don't see Crosby ever getting traded. I mean, that's fair. I have a hot take, though. If Crosby does not go to Montreal, he will go to Tampa Bay to play with Jake Gensel. Nice to see the Devils win a cup since the year that you were born. Oh, is that right? Yeah, it's not the same when you can say like, oh yeah, I'm a fan of a 3-time Stanley Cup winning team when you weren't around for those. I don't know. I'd like to say that I could say something similarly with my Vikings for football, but that's not the case. It's like, oh yeah, we've been to 4 Super Bowls. It's like, dude, I was years and years away from being born when they were making Super Bowls. Holy Grail of jerseys is the 08 Penguins Winter Classics. Yeah, Winter Classic. Yeah, that one was a thing of beauty. I love talking about like the first jerseys that I saw that weren't of my favorite team, and I was like, hey, you know what? I don't really buy jerseys of teams I don't cheer for, but I kind of want that jersey, and that was definitely one of them. I used to have it. I did sell it, but if I could ever find it again for the price I paid for it, I would buy 12 of them. Because I got it for like it was a replica, but I got I think I paid like with shipping I paid I don't know $35 or something. And it was in good shape too, very good shape. Only D-man that needs credit is Nick Seeler, scores about 20 points as a defensive D-man. I forget what team he even plays on. I know he's at least a former Flyer, right? You're saying that Crosby will be traded at some point? I don't know. I don't hear of anything that's substantial there, except for like, hey, would he play for Montreal? Was he even like a huge Habs fan growing up? I don't even know. Okay. Penguins. We're going to close this out. And yeah, Pittsburgh is landing in the D tier at the front of the D tier. But yeah, I think having these 4 teams here is pretty appropriate. I'd have Buffalo down here, maybe swap them with the Flyers or the Penguins. All right, let's go with Colorado to team up with McKinnon. Hey, that'd be bitching too. I mean, if Crosby got traded during this next season to Colorado to play with McKinnon and Brent Burns, you guys know how I love me some Brent Burns. Then yeah, I'd just be on the Avalanche wagon for that year. Right, kiddo. All right, 2 more teams. Let's talk about you know what, here. Let's do Nashville first. We're going to do the Predators. We'll finish with a team that actually was in the playoffs, unlike a team that should have been in the playoffs, and that is, guess who? So we got the Preds. Oops. SAB. What is the expectation for Nashville? That's a genuinely good question. I mean, a year ago, we were talking about how they would maybe be in that conversation as a Stanley Cup contender. Maybe not in the first tier there, but looking at that division, we thought, hey, you got Dallas. Yeah, you got the Avalanche, but you also now have the Preds with Stamkos, Marchessault, and Brady Shea. I would say that, I mean, I think that, hey, this is kind of like the most, I say that them and Montreal might be 2 of the 5 most interesting teams to rank here. If I were to say where should Nashville be, in terms of their pressure, I would say probably B tier, but kind of convincingly, like they're in their mind, they're probably thinking, hey, we got to totally forget about last year, get excited that we have these talents to work with, and girl, and get into the playoffs somehow. The expectation has to be there for the sake of Andrew Brunette and Barry Trotz's jobs, arguably. Barry Trotz, worst GM probably ever. And here I was saying like a year and a half ago, dude, this guy's a freaking genius. Hey, girl. You know, I have to credit Trotz for freeing up cap space the way he did, but it obviously looks ugly right now. So in this case, this is where I want everybody's vote for Nashville, and I definitely want everybody's vote for Montreal in just a moment here. But everybody's thinking that they're expecting to be a bottom feeder. Marchessault wants out. It completely imploded. Yeah, I mean, it happens from time to time, but boy, that was ugly AF. And right from the get-go, too. It's almost like those guys that they signed were still wearing the jerseys of other teams. Trott's better coach than GM. I mean, small sample size as GM, but that's very fair to say right now. Trotz was an awesome coach. All right. Let's close this out in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. All right. Well, with that much of a percentage, I should be putting them down here. But as I was saying, this is one where I think you can make an argument for a few of these tiers. I'm going to make an editor's note, and I'll put them here and be competitive. I think that there's some expectation here and some pressure that they should be competing for a playoff spot, but I'll put them at the end of this tier. Although I will not make an editor's note for Montreal. Montreal is another team where it's like you expect one thing and then they did something totally different this last season. I think the Canadiens are ahead of schedule. I think it's very fair to say that. Going into last year, I thought, hey, anybody from the Atlantic except for Montreal has got a shot at the playoffs. And hey, they earned a spot. It wasn't because of one player in particular either. You know, Suzuki had a great year. He even I think he got a first place finish for the Hart Trophy. Caulfield looked solid. Slafkovsky, he's got some more work to do, sure. But now you had in Demidov. You've got year 2 of Lane Hudson. God only knows what he's going to do just after just having a masterful season as a rookie. And Montembeault had a really good year too. So yeah, where are we going to rank Montreal? Are we expecting them to be a steady playoff team? Or, I mean, because there might be a conversation there that the Canadiens could be a potential dark horse to make a deep run. Maybe not compete for the Stanley Cup, but shock the world a little bit, right? The Habs are just fun to watch. Yeah. They are definitely fun to watch again. You know, it'd be funny. It's like, could the team that's on the ice right now beat the team that went to the Stanley Cup a few years ago? I mean, some people would say out of the get-go, oh, absolutely. Although I will say, that team, though, from 4 years ago, I said this before the season, because not many people were expecting the Habs to be that good. I said that they were going to be in the final, and they were. It was because they were built kind of in the vein that the Panthers are built. They were kind of built for the playoffs. They had some big guys out there like Ben Sherrod on defense. You know, Brendan Gallagher, was still doing his thing. Philip Danault was at the height of his career there. And yeah, he played very well at the beginning for the Kings too. And of course, Carey Price was, he kind of was bouncing back from those injury-ridden years too. St. Louis has done a great job. Yeah, I think when we talk about them being ahead of schedule, he should absolutely be given credit for that too. And when we talk about the best coaches in the NHL, I think it's fair that we haven't put him in that breath just yet, but it's kind of like we expect him to be in that conversation when we talk like a year from now. They were the anti-Jets. Yeah, Jets were a weird team that year, weren't they? McCrimmon doesn't make too many mistakes, but one was trading Suzuki. Very fair. Because it was that was the Tatar trade, right? Would Montreal games be better in the Forum if they were still alive today? I don't know. I hear the Bell Center is still just kind of the gold standard for, kind of traditional hockey atmospheres, or at least among the Eastern teams. All right, so we're going to close this out in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. So Montreal, okay, so about at the 2-hour mark, Montreal is going to get very firmly here in the B tier. I'll put them, they actually made the playoffs this last year. I'll put them just ahead of Mammoth and the Red Wings. All right, well, hey, thanks so much for doing these rankings with me, guys. I do appreciate that. You had fantastic comments. By the way, if anyone's like, okay, I'm out, I'm like, yo, I will stick around for 10 minutes if you want to chill with me here and continue to ask hockey questions or non-hockey questions. That's cool too. So I'll kick it for 10 more minutes with you, and then I got to make myself some pasta. Please do leave a thumbs up before you go, though. I would appreciate that. New video will drop maybe tomorrow. I got to actually do the rankings, but I've done some of the pre-production for it. So we'll rank some NHL covers. And I know that the Mount Rushmore video I did on the Sharks hasn't gotten a lot of views, but it's gotten some good engagement. So probably what I'll do is I'll make another Mount Rushmore video for a team that's, got a lot of history to it. I have an idea for who it's going to be because I think it's a very interesting topic to explore. And so we'll do that as well. Let's see here. So I'll leave the rankings up, though, for reference. You guys made this a really good ranking, so great job with that. Who are the 7 best defensive defensemen overall? Name anybody, honestly. I do so. As somebody who is not a very skilled hockey watcher, I can of course attest to the brilliance that is Jacob Slavin. Don't get me wrong, and Chris Tanev I still think is in that mix. Forsling, yes. Sandberg is the guy who I really do want to watch and keep a tab on there. After that, who jumps out at me? It's interesting. I'm really curious to see what Keandre Miller can do with the Hurricanes. I thought early in his career with the Rangers, he was kind of on that trajectory, in my opinion, but it doesn't seem like he's been at that level since then. Throw some names out, by the way. That will help me out as well. Rasmus Dahlin, I think he's in that conversation. A guy who I've always really liked, not necessarily as a top pairing defenseman at this point, especially given a recent injury. I've always really liked Eric Chernak, actually. Devon Taves, I think that he should still be somebody that we talk about as a good stay-at-home defenseman. What team will I do for the next Rushmore? Yeah, I just I don't want to say who it is right now, but it's a team with a lot of history that I think I think when we talk about the oldest teams in the NHL, I probably have the best command of this one team's history. And when we talk about Mount Rushmore with these videos, it's not just players, but we can also open it up to coaches, GMs, executives, and owners as well. And so for that reason, I think that the next Mount Rushmore I do for this specific team is going to be very interesting. Where will the Flyers finish in the Metro? I think that I can confidently say they'll finish ahead of at least the Penguins and probably I think they can finish ahead I think they can finish ahead of the Islanders as well. I think. That's not going to be the easiest thing, but I'd say, yeah, Philly, let's say probably 5th place. Or excuse me, 6th place. Sports Geeks. Jonas Brodin, yeah, that's another good one. DeMello. Yeah, DeMello was a real. I mentioned it. Yeah, Mikey Anderson. I actually like Gavrikov in his own end as well. But yeah, Mikey Anderson's been an unsung hero the past couple of years. Adam Pelech and Uyghur. It was interesting because Uyghur was somebody who got some flack in Florida for how he played defensively. Not to mention offensively, he put up good numbers in Calgary, but I guess he's playing pretty good in his own end too. Parayko, by the way, bounced back great this past year, and was somebody I liked a lot too when we got to the start of this decade. So I don't know if I'd put him quite in that conversation, but he's seemingly back to being good in his own end. I want us to be relevant again. I don't know when that will happen. I think for the Flyers, when we see you're going to have to fill me in on who their top center prospect is. I think basically once that guy's out on the ice for Philadelphia, that's when we'll, start to see a team that's very exciting to watch. Parayko had a great year, 16 goals, over 30 points, which you never knew. No one talked about. Yeah, exactly. For Parayko to put up those offensive numbers in addition to his defensive turnaround, I think that probably Does that make him a top 20 defenseman? That might be a little bit too much, but I don't think that we should leave him out of the conversation. It would be unfair. And I know that we're talking about shutdown defensemen, but a guy who I'm really excited to watch more of is Jake Sanderson. I think that he's got some gifts in both ends of the ice. The pride of Whitefish, Montana. So just about a 5-hour drive from where I live here. By the way, if anybody is ever curious to go to Glacier National Park in Montana, don't forget to go to Whitefish. That's like this really awesome town just outside of that area. Favorite Stanley Cup final matchup, 1996, when it was the Panthers and the Avalanche. Interesting. Favorite matchup. I mean, 2001, I would probably raise you there. That would be up there for me, even though I didn't watch that one. I'm just talking about like the history of it from what I know. And it was a very close series, went the distance. I'd say for me, like 2011 would be up there with the Bruins and the Canucks. I think the Canucks were maybe the best team I've seen make the final but not win it. And of course, I think 2022 too. If let's say the Lightning hadn't played as many games over the past 3 years going into that series, could they have given the Avalanche a little bit better of a run than they did? Yeah, I think that was a good Stanley Cup final. Washington versus Vegas, not just because, as a Sharks fan, right, it's like, oh, Vegas beat us in the playoffs. I think that, especially looking back on it, just given the run that the Golden Knights had, I mean, it's one of the greatest things we've ever seen ever happen in hockey in our lifetime and in sports in our lifetime. And then for Washington on the other side to actually get over the hump and to do that by beating the Penguins, who had won the last 2 cups, and doing so when the Capitals had won the previous 2 President's trophies. I think that makes that 2018 matchup special, and 2019 too with the Blues. Going into that year, I was actually kind of high on the Blues. I picked the Blues to win the Stanley Cup going into that year with O'Reilly joining the team, and I wasn't expecting the Blues to be quite that team that we saw in the final there with Berube behind the bench and Binnington in goal, but the blueprint was kind of there for them. And so, those are some matchups that stand out to me. And 2013, I was thinking that too. Yeah, 2013, the Bruins were so close to pushing Game 7 against Chicago. I only wish that we had a full season that year too. I mean, shoot, my Sharks were surprisingly better than I expected that year too. And they came a Game 7 from getting to the conference final. And then, of course, the Kings fell to Chicago then. Don't want to hear about the Bruins. Should have won. Very good series. 2019 had the best story. So, and another video I'm considering making is what if the President's Trophy winner actually won the Stanley Cup? So going through the past 40 years, because that's how long the President's Trophy has been given out, right? How are we feeling on Stuart Skinner as a player? I feel that he receives a little too much hate, but he clearly has to be helped by his team rather than him carrying them. Too many limitations. I'm kind of in the camp of I've given up on him. Could he be a tandem goaltender? I think that's even maybe a bit too much to ask of him. You have to have a true number one, I think. But if that true number, let's say Jacob Markstrom was, okay, maybe Markstrom from a couple. Look, Markstrom, somebody I've always liked. But let's say you had the playoff Markstrom we got in the first round against the Hurricanes. Like, hey, he's healthy. If you got that Markstrom as the veteran, as the one, and then had Stuart Skinner behind him, does that win the Oilers a Stanley Cup? I don't know about this last year. Maybe 2 years ago it does. I think he needs something better there. And I just will never be convinced he can be a starter. The one team you want to see in the Stanley Cup in the future is San Jose. Yeah, I think that they're building a good roadmap to being a competitive team once again. Let's take it one step at a time. But they have, Yaroslav Askarov is a 23-year-old in goal, one of the highly rated young goalies for the future. Not to mention they just drafted Ravensburgen. I think it's good to have a few years between your goaltenders there. I think that they do need that they need one. I don't want to say blue chip because Dickinson maybe could become a blue chip defenseman. But as I was saying earlier, they will have an opportunity, I think, to draft Keaton Verhoff, the top-rated defenseman. Not to mention he's a right-handed defenseman, and they need that. And he's got that two-way upside. He's got the size. The guy was a wizard, a 16-year-old in the WHL in 63 games, 21 goals, 25 assists. 16-year-old. And now he's going to, I think, is he going to play in college? I can't remember. I mean, he'll be the real deal from what I see here. I really want the Sharks to get him. And if the Sharks don't actually finish high enough to draft him, I think that they have the assets to trade him. And I would not look back. I would not look back if they traded for somebody of that caliber. Vegas will be the team to break the President's Trophy curse. Oh, that's a good hot take for you, Dean. I like that one. Could they finish with the best overall record this year? Shoot. I thought they were going to win it all this last year, honestly. I really did. I think that they need to get better on the backside of things. If you took the team this year with Marner and they had just as many points, I would probably say, no, I think that you still need something a little bit on the backside to win me over. But I don't think it's out of the question. I think that Vegas, to me, would be among cup contenders this year. After the Panthers, they might be the next one, honestly. Dallas, maybe, but they just made a coaching change, so I got to see how that works for them. Any chance for Carolina next year? So kind of like I was just sharing about the Sharks, I think the Hurricanes have the assets, even though they just made the huge trade for Mikko Rantanen. I do think they still have assets if they want to make a good impact move, like getting a second-line center. So I think that helps them, but they need two things. They need a second-line center, and they need a goaltender. So they'll have to probably get a little creative, but it's not out of the realm of possibility. But the way the roster is constructed right now, no. They cannot. They're not built to win a Stanley Cup. And I love them. I wish them all the luck. I don't think Couturier is the guy to have the captain's letter. And I hope that they don't think that he's going to be doing this for much longer per se. But I don't follow that well at this time. Zellweger or Drysdale, who would you guys rather have? I'd rather have Zellweger just because Drysdale, just not that far removed from his injury history. Brett Hull's cup-winning goal was deemed illegal when it happened. Do you think that Dallas would still win the cup in Game 6 or Game 7? Kind of hard to beat that Dallas team. They were the President's Trophy winner for a reason. Their roster was more than just Belfour and goal versus like Buffalo. Had good players, don't get me wrong, but Hasek was the backbone. Whereas with Dallas, it was just really good two-way forwards. Let's see here. I love Stankoven. Yeah, dude, I love Stankoven too. Like, it's so cool when you get to actually see somebody play in junior and you can see the blueprint where he's got the mold of somebody who can make an impact in the NHL already and doesn't need like line chemistry or anything like that. And a guy who's small for his height, but plays like he's 6'2", 210 pounds. Yeah, I'm stoked to see this guy as a Hurricane, especially for a team I root for. So good call there. All right, fellas, I'm going to bounce and we'll do this again probably in a couple weeks. You can always let me know on social media or in our Discord server if you have any further ideas for either videos or streams. We're going to be hopefully doing more with our members content as well. So if you want more of this, we do these really fun informal hangouts with our members. And a few bucks for the channel would mean a lot to me, but to have you there, it means just as much as well, because we could always use some new blood in our members group as well, especially as we get closer to the start of the season. I think our topics, our conversations will be really entertaining too. But yeah, it's been great having you here, and we'll do this again soon enough. I'm going to get Cortana on screen one more time. Cortana, here, treat. Yeah, you guys were really good. I'm blown away by the quality of your questions and your takes here. So don't bumping this with my hat. Save some of them for the next few times. Okay. Have a good night, everybody. Have a good rest of your week. We'll be back soon enough.